I never thought twice about giving my son Michael $4,000 every month for my grandson Noah's education. The boy is gifted and deserves the best. For a year I happily transferred the money, proud to help. Then one Tuesday afternoon at Lakeside Mall I froze. There was Michael buying a $3,800 Louis Vuitton bag for his wife Rebecca. My heart sank as I watched him swipe his card. I said nothing that day. But when the next month came, he definitely was not smiling anymore. If you want to know what happened when I confronted my son about his betrayal, keep watching until the end. Before I dive into this heartbreaking story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more real-life family stories that might just help you navigate your own relationships. Life changes when you become a widow. After Gerald passed away 5 years ago, I found myself alone in our spacious house with more money than I knew what to do with. My husband had been a prudent investor and left me comfortably provided for with substantial savings and a diversified investment portfolio. Our only son Michael had always been the light of my life, even more so after Gerald's passing. Michael and I had always been close. He would call me every other day just to check in, and Sunday dinners at my house were a family tradition. His wife Rebecca was polite enough, though we never developed the mother-daughter relationship I had hoped for. They lived in a modest 3-bedroom house across town with their son, my precious grandson Noah. On the surface, they appeared to be a typical middle-class family. Michael worked as a marketing manager at a local firm, and Rebecca had recently cut back her hours as a dental hygienist to spend more time with Noah. They weren't poor by any means, but they certainly weren't living in luxury. Or so I thought. Noah was different from other children his age. By 5, he was reading chapter books and solving math problems meant for 3rd graders. His kindergarten teacher had suggested he might be gifted and would benefit from specialized education that the public school system simply couldn't provide. It was a rainy April evening when Michael came to visit me alone. Something unusual enough to pique my curiosity. "Mom, I need to talk to you about Noah," he said, his voice serious as he settled into Gerald's old armchair in my living room. I poured us both some tea and sat across from him. "Is everything all right?" "More than all right, actually. We've found this amazing school for gifted children, Westwood Academy. Their curriculum would be perfect for Noah. The teachers there really know how to nurture exceptional minds like his." My heart swelled with pride. "That sounds wonderful, Michael." His expression shifted then, becoming hesitant. "The thing is, Mom, it's expensive. Really expensive. Rebecca and I have gone over our finances again and again. But with the mortgage and other expenses, we just can't make it work on our own." I didn't even need to hear the question. "How much is it?" Michael looked down at his hands. $4,000 a month. The amount gave me pause, but only briefly. What better use for Gerald's money than investing in our grandson's future? Noah was our legacy after all. "Of course I'll help," I said without hesitation. "I want Noah to have every opportunity." The relief on Michael's face was immediate and profound. He crossed the room and hugged me tightly. "Thank you, Mom. You have no idea what this means to us, to Noah." We set up a simple arrangement. I would transfer $4,000 to Michael's account on the 1st of each month, starting immediately so Noah could begin at Westwood Academy for the fall semester. The next few months were filled with excitement. I visited Noah more often, delighting in his stories about the entrance exams and interview at Westwood. Michael and Rebecca invited me over for dinner more frequently, and Rebecca seemed warmer toward me, often expressing her gratitude for my generosity. "We could never have given Noah this opportunity without you, Eleanor," she said during one such dinner, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "You're changing his life." I noticed small changes in their lifestyle over the following months. Rebecca had her hair done at a more upscale salon. Michael traded in his sensible sedan for a newer luxury model, which he explained was a good deal he just couldn't pass up. Their furniture was gradually replaced with more elegant pieces. But I dismissed these observations, assuming they were making small upgrades now that Noah's education was taken care of. My friend Judith, however, was less convinced when I mentioned the arrangement during our weekly bridge game. $4,000 a month for elementary school?" she asked, eyebrows raised. "That sounds excessive, even for a private academy. Have you seen the actual tuition statements?" I trust my son, I replied, perhaps a bit defensively. Michael wouldn't lie to me about something like this. Judith gave me a long look but said nothing more. In retrospect, I should have paid more attention to her concern. But at the time, I was simply happy to be useful to my family, to maintain that close connection with my son and grandson. The monthly transfers gave me purpose, a concrete way to show my love and support. Little did I know that my generosity was being exploited in ways I couldn't have imagined. The arrangement that had begun with such hope and good intentions would soon reveal a painful truth about my son that would shake our relationship to its core. The first hint that something wasn't quite right came during Noah's 7th birthday party at Michael and Rebecca's house. As Rebecca reached up to hang a streamer, I noticed a glittering tennis bracelet on her wrist that certainly hadn't been there the last time I'd seen her. The diamonds caught the light in a way that suggested quality, not the costume jewelry she typically wore. Later that same afternoon, I overheard a snippet of conversation between Michael and Rebecca in the kitchen, while they thought I was entertaining the children in the backyard. The Maldives package is fully refundable up to 30 days before, Michael was saying. We should book now while the price is good. Are you sure we can swing it? Rebecca asked. With the kitchen renovation starting next month. It's fine, Michael assured her. We've got it covered. I moved away before they realized I was there, a strange feeling settling in my stomach. The Maldives was hardly a budget vacation destination, and they were planning a kitchen renovation? Michael had mentioned nothing about either expense to me. 2 weeks later, I stopped by their house unannounced with some books I'd bought for Noah. The front yard was filled with construction materials, and a contractor's truck sat in the driveway. Michael seemed surprised to see me but invited me in through the side door to avoid the construction mess. Just some necessary updates, he explained vaguely when I asked about the work. The house needed it. What I saw inside hardly looked like necessary updates. The modest kitchen was being gutted entirely. Marble countertops were being installed, along with what looked like very high-end appliances still in their crates. I said nothing, but questions began multiplying in my mind. The following week I invited Michael to lunch, just the two of us. Over sandwiches at our favorite deli, I tried to casually inquire about Noah's school expenses. The $4,000 covers everything, right? Tuition, books, activities. Michael's hand paused midway to his mouth. Yeah, everything educational, he said after a moment. Though there are always extra expenses popping up. Field trips, special programs. You know how it is. When I asked if I could perhaps visit the school sometime, see where Noah was spending his days, Michael became oddly defensive. They're pretty strict about visitors during school hours, he said. Security and all that. But maybe for a special event sometime. I'll let you know. He quickly changed the subject to Gerald's old fishing boat, which I still kept at the lake house, asking if I'd considered selling it. The abrupt topic shift left me unsettled. A few days later, I took Noah out for ice cream after picking him up from a playdate. As we sat with our cones, I asked him what he liked best about Westwood Academy. My science teacher, Mrs. Wilson, he said enthusiastically. She's helping me with my volcano project for the science fair. That sounds wonderful, I said. Is there a big fundraiser for the science fair? Something the parents contribute to? Noah looked confused. I don't think so. But there is a fundraiser for the new gymnasium. Dad says he doesn't need to give money because you already give so much to the school. I nearly choked on my ice cream. What exactly had Michael told Noah about our arrangement? That evening, I did something I'd never thought I'd do. I called Westwood Academy, claiming to be a prospective parent interested in enrollment costs. The friendly admissions coordinator informed me that tuition was $2,000 per month, with additional fees for certain extracurricular activities that might add another few $100s at most. $2,000, not $4,000. The discrepancy left me breathless. Where was the other $2,000 going each month? I hung up before the coordinator could ask for my contact information, my hands shaking. That night I couldn't sleep. I got up at 3 a.m. and searched for Westwood Academy online, finding their tuition information publicly listed on their website. The admissions coordinator had been correct. $2,000 monthly for elementary students, with potential additional fees that wouldn't come close to doubling the amount. I decided to observe more before confronting Michael. Perhaps there was some explanation I hadn't considered. But as the days passed, my anxiety grew, affecting my sleep and my health. I began to get headaches, something I rarely experienced. The final confirmation came from my friend Mildred, who called me one Tuesday morning, her voice bubbling with gossip. "Eleanor, I saw Michael and Rebecca at La Maison last night. That French restaurant downtown, you know, the one with the 3-month waiting list? They were dressed to the nines. Rebecca had on the most gorgeous necklace you've ever seen." La Maison was notoriously expensive, the kind of place where dinner for two easily ran several $100s. Gerald and I had gone there only for our 40th anniversary. "Are you sure it was them?" I asked weakly, though I knew Mildred wasn't mistaken. "Positive, dear. They were at the best table in the house, drinking champagne. Michael was certainly spoiling her." Yes, I thought bitterly after hanging up. Spoiling her with my money. The pieces were falling into place, painting a picture I didn't want to see. But the worst was yet to come. A moment that would crystallize all my suspicions into undeniable reality. The following week, I went to Lakeside Mall to buy a new science book for Noah, something about space exploration that he'd mentioned wanting. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and the mall was relatively quiet, just how I preferred it. After finding the book at the children's store on the second level, I decided to stop by the food court for a cup of tea before heading home. As I was walking past the luxury retailers that lined the main concourse, I spotted a familiar figure through the windows of the Louis Vuitton store. Michael was standing at the counter, Rebecca beside him, both dressed in business attire as if they'd taken the afternoon off work. I instinctively stepped back, positioning myself behind a decorative pillar where I could observe without being seen. Rebecca was trying on different handbags, holding each up for Michael's approval. After some deliberation, she selected a brown monogram tote with leather trim. Even from a distance, I recognized it as one of the brand's signature pieces. The sales associate boxed it up with practiced elegance while Michael pulled out his wallet. I watched in stunned silence as the transaction unfolded. The sales associate said something, presumably announcing the total. I couldn't hear the amount, but Michael's credit card was declined on the first attempt. He appeared embarrassed, quickly producing another card from his wallet. This one went through, and moments later, Rebecca was clutching the distinctive Louis Vuitton shopping bag to her chest, beaming with delight. As they turned to leave the store, I ducked into a nearby shop, pretending to browse scarves until they had passed. Once they were out of sight, I approached the Louis Vuitton store, hesitating at the entrance before gathering my courage and walking in. "May I help you?" asked a different sales associate, a young woman with impeccable makeup. "I was just admiring a bag I saw someone purchase," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "A brown monogram tote. Could you tell me the price of that model?" The associate smiled. "The Never Full That's $3,800 plus tax." $3,800. Almost exactly the amount Michael had been pocketing from my monthly payments, assuming the $2,000 tuition figure was accurate. The coincidence was too perfect to ignore. I thanked the associate and left quickly, Noah's book clutched tightly in my hand. In the parking garage, I sat in my car for nearly 20 minutes, unable to drive, waves of nausea washing over me. The betrayal felt physical, like a blow to my chest. My own son had been systematically stealing from me, using his child's education as a pretense. Images flashed through my mind. Michael as a little boy, me teaching him about honesty, about the value of money, about family trust. The same values I thought he'd been teaching Noah. I remembered the times Gerald and I had sacrificed to give Michael opportunities, working extra hours, postponing our own dreams. The college tuition we'd paid in full so he wouldn't have debt. The down payment we'd helped with on his first house. The countless ways we'd supported him throughout his life. When I finally drove home, I went straight to my study and pulled out the financial statements documenting every transfer I'd made to Michael over the past year. 12 payments of $4,000 each, $48,000 total. If Noah's actual tuition was $2,000 monthly, that meant Michael and Rebecca had pocketed $24,000 of my money under false pretenses. But was even the $2,000 accurate? I called Westwood Academy again the next day, this time asking to speak to someone in the finance office. I claimed to be considering financial aid options for my grandchild and wanted to understand the true cost of attendance. Our full tuition is $2,000 per month, confirmed the finance officer. But many families receive partial scholarships based on need or merit. The actual amount paid varies quite a bit from family to family. I thanked her and hung up, a new suspicion forming. I called my financial advisor, Dorothy, and scheduled an emergency appointment for that afternoon. Something doesn't add up, Dorothy, I explained in her office, recounting the entire situation. I need to know if there's a way to find out how much is actually being paid to the school without alerting Michael. Dorothy frowned, tapping her pen against her desk. Education payments can be verified for tax purposes. If you're providing the funds for Noah's education, you have a right to documentation of how that money is being used. Have you asked Michael for receipts? Not yet, I admitted. I wanted to gather more information first. As if on cue, my phone rang. It was Michael. Mom, I hate to ask, but there's a special astronomy trip coming up for Noah's class. It's an extra $1,200. Do you think you could help with that? It would mean so much to him. My hand tightened around the phone as I struggled to maintain my composure. Of course, dear. Why don't you come by tomorrow and we can discuss it? You're the best, Mom. I'll stop by around 6. After ending the call, I looked up at Dorothy, who had heard every word. Eleanor, she said gently, I think you know what you need to do now. That evening, I called my sister Patricia, who lived in Arizona. Patricia had always been more direct than me, less willing to make excuses for family members' bad behavior. You need to confront him, she said firmly after I explained everything. This isn't just about the money, Eleanor. It's about the lie, about using Noah as a pawn. And you need to be prepared for him to get defensive, maybe even nasty. I know, I said quietly. But I need more than suspicions. I need proof. Then get it, Patricia said. And then stand your ground. Remember what Dad always said. Trust but verify. We both finished together, a saying our practical-minded father had repeated throughout our childhood. After hanging up, I sat in Gerald's old study, surrounded by his books and the faint scent of his pipe tobacco that still lingered years later. I could almost hear what he would say in this situation. Gerald had always believed in facing problems head-on, in doing the difficult thing when it was the right thing. I'll make this right, Gerald, I whispered to the empty room. For Noah's sake, and for ours. The next morning, I began a thorough investigation of the financial arrangement I had with Michael. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about truth and the example being set for Noah. I started by printing out all my bank statements, highlighting each $4,000 transfer I had made to Michael's account over the past year. The total sum, seeing it collected in one place, was staggering. I decided to visit Westwood Academy in person. I made an appointment with the administrative office, explaining that I was Noah Anderson's grandmother and the primary financial supporter of his education. The receptionist was initially hesitant, but agreed to schedule a meeting with the finance director for the following day. Westwood Academy was as impressive as Michael had described, with its brick buildings and expansive campus. The finance director, a serious woman named Victoria Palmer, greeted me in her office. Mrs. Bennett, what can I help you with today? She asked after we exchanged pleasantries. I'm providing the funds for my grandson Noah's education, I explained. I'd like to verify the actual cost and ensure the payments are being made properly. Ms. Palmer typed Noah's name into her computer. Yes, Noah Anderson. He's a wonderful student, by the way. His science teacher speaks very highly of him. Thank you, I said, feeling a moment of genuine pride. About the payments. Ms. Palmer's expression shifted slightly. Well, the full tuition is $2,000 monthly, but the Anderson family qualifies for our hardship program. They currently pay $1,000 per month, with regular appeals for further reduction based on financial constraints. The room seemed to tilt slightly. $1,000. Not $2,000. Not $4,000. $1,000. I see, I managed to say. And are the payments up to date? Ms. Palmer frowned at her screen. Actually, there have been some inconsistencies. The March payment was late, and April's payment hasn't been received yet, though it's only a week overdue. We've sent a courtesy reminder. April's payment hasn't been made? I repeated, stunned. I had transferred the $4,000 to Michael on April 1st, as usual. No, not yet. If payments continue to be irregular, we may need to discuss Noah's enrollment status for next year. We have a waiting list of qualified students, and scholarship spots are limited. I felt a cold anger settling in my chest. Michael was not only pocketing $3,000 each month, but now potentially jeopardizing Noah's place at the school altogether. I understand. Thank you for your time. I'll ensure the payments are made properly going forward. My next stop was my bank. Bernard, the manager who had known Gerald and me for decades, met with me in his office. Eleanor, what can I do for you today? I need documentation of all transfers I've made to my son's account over the past year, I explained. And I may need to set up a different payment arrangement going forward. Bernard nodded, retrieving the information quickly. These are substantial transfers, he commented, reviewing the records. All to the same account, very consistent. Yes. And I'd like to know if it's possible to set up a direct payment to a school instead. Of course. Many grandparents do that for their grandchildren's education. It's straightforward to arrange. After leaving the bank with an envelope full of official documentation, I called Gregory Peterson, an attorney who had handled Gerald's estate. I needed to understand my options from a legal perspective as well. The money was given under false pretenses, Gregory confirmed after I explained the situation. You could potentially pursue legal action, but that would obviously have significant implications for your family relationships. I'm not interested in suing my son, I clarified. I just want to protect my grandson's education and ensure my money is used as intended going forward. In that case, I'd recommend establishing a direct payment arrangement with the school and perhaps a formal education trust for Noah. I can draw up the paperwork if you decide to go that route. At home, I created a detailed spreadsheet documenting the discrepancies between what I had paid Michael and what the school had actually received. The numbers were damning. Over the course of a year, Michael had diverted $36,000 to his own purposes, while only paying $12,000 toward Noah's education. And now it seemed he wasn't paying even that. Out of curiosity, I looked up Rebecca's social media accounts. Though we weren't connected online, her profile was public. The evidence of their extravagant lifestyle was there for anyone to see. A Mediterranean cruise 3 months ago, the kitchen renovation documented in stylish before and after photos, Rebecca modeling what she called my new treasures, including jewelry and designer clothes. There was even a photo of the Louis Vuitton bag, captioned, "Best husband ever." The stress of the situation began taking a physical toll. I developed persistent headaches and had trouble sleeping. My neighbor Helen noticed my distress when she stopped by with homemade muffins. "Eleanor, you don't look well. Is everything all right?" I gave her a simplified version of the situation, leaving out the most painful details. Helen shook her head sadly. "Taking advantage of a parent's generosity is just plain wrong. You have to address this, for your own sake as well as Noah's." The hardest part was seeing Noah that weekend. Michael and Rebecca dropped him off for our regular Saturday afternoon together, which usually involved baking cookies and playing board games. Noah was as bright and enthusiastic as ever, chattering about his volcano project that had won first prize at the science fair. "Grandma, did you know that some volcanoes stay dormant for hundreds of years before they erupt?" he asked as we rolled out cookie dough. "Is that so?" I replied, thinking how apt the metaphor was for my current situation. "Yep. All that pressure builds up underground where nobody can see it, and then boom." He threw his hands up, sending a small cloud of flour into the air. I hugged him tightly, flour and all. "I love you, Noah. You know that, right?" He looked at me curiously. "Of course, Grandma. Are you okay? You look sad." "Just a little tired, sweetheart. But I'm always here for you no matter what. Don't ever forget that." After Noah left, I finalized my plan. I would confront Michael directly, with evidence in hand, and propose a new arrangement that would secure Noah's education without the opportunity for misappropriation. I prepared the documents with Gregory's help, establishing a direct payment plan with Westwood Academy, and creating an education trust for Noah that would cover his schooling through college. I rehearsed the conversation with Judith, who played the role of Michael with uncanny accuracy, anticipating his likely defenses and outbursts. "You need to stay calm and focused," Judith advised. "This isn't about attacking him. It's about protecting Noah and establishing boundaries." Finally, I called Michael and invited him to dinner at my house, specifying that I wanted to talk to him alone about an important family matter. He agreed readily, probably assuming I was going to give him the extra money he had requested for Noah's supposed astronomy trip. As I prepared a pot roast, Gerald's favorite meal and one I had often made for family discussions, I felt a strange sense of calm. The dormant volcano was ready to erupt, and there was no turning back now. I set the dining room table with my good china, the set Gerald and I had received as a wedding gift 50 years ago. The formality of the setting would signal to Michael that this wasn't a casual dinner. The pot roast simmered in the kitchen, filling the house with a comforting aroma that belied the tension I felt. At precisely 6 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Michael stood on the porch holding a bottle of wine, his smile faltering slightly when he saw my serious expression. "Hey, Mom. Everything okay?" he asked as he stepped inside. "Let's talk over dinner," I replied, leading him to the dining room. We engaged in stilted small talk as I served the food. Michael seemed nervous, repeatedly checking his phone and fidgeting with his silverware. He commented on the pot roast, mentioned a project at work, asked about my garden. I responded politely but briefly, waiting for the right moment. After we finished eating, I cleared the plates and returned with a folder, which I placed on the table between us. "Michael, we need to discuss Noah's education," I began, keeping my voice steady. His posture relaxed slightly. "Right, the astronomy trip. I brought the information." He reached for his phone. "This isn't about any astronomy trip," I said, opening the folder. "It's about the $4,000 I've been giving you every month for the past year." Michael's expression froze. "What about it?" I took a deep breath and laid out the first document, a statement from my bank showing all the transfers. "I've given you $48,000 over the past year for Noah's education at Westwood Academy." "Yes, and we're incredibly grateful," he said quickly. "Noah is thriving there." "I visited Westwood Academy this week," I continued, placing the tuition statement from the school next to my bank records. "The full tuition is $2,000 per month, not $4,000. And due to your claimed financial hardship, you're actually paying only $1,000. The color drained from Michael's face. "Mom, I can explain." "Furthermore," I pressed on, "according to the school's records, you haven't even made the April payment yet, despite receiving my $4,000 at the beginning of the month." "There was a mix-up with the payment processing," he stammered. "I've been meaning to follow up on that. $3,000 difference every month for a year, Michael. $36,000. Where has that money gone?" He pushed back from the table, anger replacing his initial shock. "What is this, an interrogation? Are you spying on me now, calling Noah's school behind my back? I'm trying to understand why my son would lie to me about something as important as his child's education." "We have other expenses related to Noah's development," Michael said defensively. "Special tutoring, educational materials, enrichment activities. The school is just one part of his education." I nodded calmly. "I understand that raising a gifted child has additional costs. But that doesn't explain the Louis Vuitton bag you bought for Rebecca last week." Michael's eyes widened. "How did you?" "I saw you in the store, Michael. I watched you buy a $3,800 handbag, while I was under the impression that my money was going toward Noah's education." He ran a hand through his hair, visibly flustered. "It was her birthday. A special occasion. With my money," I said quietly. "Look, you have more than enough," Michael snapped, his voice rising. "Dad left you well off. You're living in this big house alone, while Rebecca and I are trying to give Noah the life he deserves. By lying to me? By potentially jeopardizing his place at Westwood, because you're not even making the reduced payments on time." Michael's face contorted with indignation. "That money would all be mine eventually anyway. I'm just getting a small advance on my inheritance." The statement hit me like a physical blow. Is that how he saw me now? As a wallet? An inheritance waiting to be claimed? This isn't about the money, Michael. It's about the deception. Using Noah as a pawn to extract money from me under false pretenses. Don't be so dramatic, Mom. We're family. The money stays in the family either way. I took out the next document, a photograph I had printed of Rebecca's social media post showing off her new Louis Vuitton bag. Is this what you needed the extra $1,200 for? Another accessory for Rebecca, while you claim financial hardship to Noah's school. Michael stood up abruptly. Rebecca has nothing to do with this. Leave her out of it. She's wearing the evidence, Michael. The cruises, the renovation, the jewelry, the designer clothes. Did you think I wouldn't notice eventually? So we've enjoyed some of the money. Sue me, he retorted sarcastically. You always said you wanted us to be happy. Not at the expense of honesty. Not at the expense of teaching Noah that it's acceptable to lie for financial gain. Michael paced the dining room, his anger building. You have no right to judge how we spend our money. It wasn't your money, I said firmly. It was given specifically for Noah's education, which you've now put at risk with your irresponsible behavior. I placed the final document on the table. This is my proposal going forward. I've arranged to pay Westwood Academy directly. The full $2,000 monthly will come from me, ensuring Noah's place is secure. Additionally, I've established an education trust for Noah that will cover his education through college. Michael stared at the document. So you're cutting me out completely? Just like that. I'm ensuring my grandson receives the education we both want for him. The money will go exactly where it's supposed to go. And what about us? What about our needs? You're both employed adults, Michael. Your needs for luxury items and exotic vacations are not my responsibility. His face darkened. Fine. Then maybe you don't need to see Noah anymore. Have you thought about that? You're not legally entitled to grandparent visitation. The threat felt like ice water in my veins, but I had anticipated this reaction. Before you make threats, you should know that I've spoken with the administration at Westwood. They're aware of the situation. If Noah suddenly disappears from the school after I've arranged to secure his spot, there will be questions. Is that the kind of attention you want? Michael's confidence faltered as he realized I had thoroughly prepared for this confrontation. You have two options, I continued calmly. Accept this new arrangement, which still provides generously for Noah's education, or reject it and lose all financial support entirely. In that case, you'll need to explain to Noah why he can no longer attend the school he loves. This is blackmail, he sputtered. This is a boundary, Michael. One I should have established long ago. He grabbed the wine bottle he had brought, still unopened. I need to think about this. The school needs April's payment by the end of the week, I reminded him. I'm prepared to make it directly if you agree to the new arrangement. Michael stormed toward the front door. You'll regret this, Mom. Rebecca will be furious. I'm sure she will be. $3,000 extra a month buys a lot of Louis Vuitton. He slammed the door behind him, leaving me alone in the suddenly quiet house. Despite the confrontation going largely as I had anticipated, the reality of my son's anger and threats left me shaken. I cleared the barely touched dinner plates, Gerald's voice echoing in my memory. Stand firm when you know you're right, Ellie. Especially with the people you love most. The emotional release came later that night, after Michael had gone. I sat in Gerald's chair and wept, mourning not just the money that had been taken under false pretenses, but the breach of trust between mother and son. The foundation of our relationship had been fractured, and I wasn't sure if it could ever be fully repaired. The next morning my phone rang at 8 o'clock. It was Rebecca, her voice tightly controlled. Eleanor, we need to talk about what happened last night. Good morning, Rebecca. Yes, I think we do. Michael is very upset. He feels betrayed. I almost laughed at the irony. I understand that feeling quite well at the moment. Look, perhaps there was some miscommunication about the school expenses, she said, her tone softening into something more placating. We never meant to mislead you. Rebecca, please don't insult my intelligence. The school confirmed you're paying $1,000 monthly, claiming financial hardship, while I've been giving you $4,000. That's not miscommunication. That's deliberate deception. A long pause followed. We've had other expenses, she finally said. Yes, I've seen the evidence of those other expenses on your social media. The Louis Vuitton bag looks lovely, by the way. Another silence. What do you want, Eleanor? I want what I've always wanted, for Noah to have the best education possible, and for my family to be honest with me. That's why I've arranged to pay the school directly going forward. And what about our arrangement? The monthly transfers? That arrangement was based on a lie, Rebecca. It's over. I could hear her sharp intake of breath. I see. Well, I hope you realize this affects all of us. I'm aware. And I hope you and Michael realize that actions have consequences. After ending the call, I drove to Westwood Academy and met with the administration to implement the new payment plan. Ms. Palmer seemed relieved. We value Noah as a student, she assured me. This arrangement will secure his place with us. Thank you. And I'd appreciate it if you would contact me directly if there are ever any concerns about his enrollment or well-being. That weekend, Michael brought Noah to my house as usual, though he remained in the car, refusing to come inside. Noah seemed subdued, sensing the tension between the adults in his life. Is Dad mad at you? He asked as we baked chocolate chip cookies, his favorite activity at my house. Your dad and I have had a disagreement about grown-up things, I said carefully. But that has nothing to do with how much we both love you. He and Mom were fighting a lot this week, Noah confided. Mom was crying about a bag. I knelt down to his level. Noah, I want you to know that no matter what happens between your dad and me, I will always be here for you. Your education and your happiness are what matter most to me. He nodded solemnly. I know, Grandma. Can I have another cookie? The following week was filled with logistical tasks. I met with Dorothy to restructure my overall estate planning, ensuring that Noah would be provided for regardless of my relationship with Michael. The education trust was formalized with strict provisions about how the money could be used. This protects both Noah and you, Dorothy explained as I signed the documents. The funds can only be used for qualified educational expenses, paid directly to the institutions. I also arranged for more direct time with Noah, offering to pick him up from school 2 days a week and help with his homework. To my surprise, Rebecca agreed readily, perhaps seeing the practical benefit of free childcare. The first direct payment to Westwood Academy felt significant, like reclaiming control over my own generosity. The school sent a formal receipt, which I filed carefully along with the trust documentation. Meanwhile, Michael and Rebecca's lifestyle adjustments became apparent almost immediately. Rebecca's social media posts shifted from luxury purchases to home-cooked meals and family game nights. The planned kitchen renovation was scaled back considerably. The Maldives vacation was never mentioned again. Noah reported increased tensions at home. Mom said we have to be more careful with money now. He told me during one of our homework sessions. Dad said it's your fault, but Mom said it's theirs. After a month of minimal communication, Michael finally called me. Can we talk? He asked, his voice lacking its usual confidence. We met at a neutral location, a coffee shop halfway between our homes. Michael looked tired, the bravado from our confrontation dinner completely gone. I've had time to think, he began after we ordered our drinks. What I did was wrong. I should never have misrepresented Noah's school costs. I nodded, waiting for him to continue. It started small, he explained. The scholarship reduced the tuition, but I didn't tell you because I thought you might reduce your contribution. Then it became so easy to use that extra money for other things. Rebecca and I got caught up in a lifestyle we couldn't really afford. That doesn't make it right, Michael. I know. He stared into his coffee. I've been thinking a lot about what Dad would say about all this. He would be deeply disappointed, I said truthfully. But he would also believe in redemption, in making things right going forward. Michael nodded slowly. I want to make things right, Mom. I don't want Noah growing up in a family divided by this. Neither do I. But trust has been broken, and it will take time to rebuild. I understand. The new arrangement with you paying the school directly, it's fair. Better than I deserve, really. We established new boundaries that day, a framework for moving forward. Michael would need to demonstrate responsibility and honesty over time. There would be no more financial support beyond Noah's education, but our family relationship could heal gradually with effort on both sides. The following week I had lunch with Judith, updating her on the resolution. "You handled it perfectly," she said approvingly. "Firm but fair. And most importantly, you protected Noah." "It's been painful," I admitted. "I never thought my son could lie to me like that." "People do desperate things when money is involved, even family," Judith said wisely. "The important thing is that you've set things right for the future." Noah continued to thrive at Westwood Academy. His end-of-term report showed exceptional progress in science and mathematics. His teacher included a note. "Noah has shown remarkable focus despite what must be challenging family circumstances. His resilience is commendable." I placed the report on my refrigerator, a reminder that despite everything, something good had come from this painful episode. My grandson's education was secure, and that had been my intention all along. 6 months after the confrontation, our family dynamic had settled into a new normal. The initial anger and resentment had gradually given way to a tentative rebuilding of relationships, with clearly defined boundaries in place. Noah now spent every weekend at my house, a tradition that had evolved naturally as Michael and Rebecca adjusted to their more modest lifestyle. My grandson and I developed a special bond during these extended visits, working on science projects together and reading books from Gerald's extensive library. "Grandma, did you know that astronomers discovered over 100 new exoplanets last year?" Noah asked one Saturday morning as we made pancakes together. "I didn't know that. Tell me more about these exoplanets." His eyes lit up as he launched into a detailed explanation, his passion for learning undiminished by the family turmoil. If anything, he seemed to be thriving even more now that the adults in his life had established clearer boundaries. Westwood Academy sent regular updates on Noah's progress. His science teacher had recommended him for an advanced placement program, noting his exceptional aptitude. "Noah demonstrates remarkable critical thinking skills and curiosity," the report stated. "He has a bright academic future ahead of him." Michael and Rebecca had adapted to their new financial reality with varying degrees of grace. Rebecca had increased her hours at the dental practice, contributing more to the household income. Michael had taken on consulting work in addition to his regular job. Their social media posts now highlighted free community events and home improvement projects. They completed themselves instead of hiring contractors. The real breakthrough came at Thanksgiving, when I hosted dinner for the entire family, including my sister Patricia, who had flown in from Arizona for the occasion. Michael arrived early to help with preparations, an olive branch I gratefully accepted. "The turkey smells just like when I was a kid," he commented as he set the dining room table. "The same one where our confrontation had taken place months earlier." "Same recipe," I replied. "Your father's favorite." We worked side by side in companionable silence for a while before Michael spoke again. "Mom, I need to say something. I'm truly sorry for what I did. It wasn't just about the money. It was the betrayal of trust, using Noah as leverage. I see now how wrong that was." I put down the potato masher and turned to face him. "Why, Michael? I've been trying to understand. I would have helped if you'd just been honest about wanting to improve your lifestyle." He shook his head. It wouldn't have been the same. Taking money for Noah's education felt justified somehow, like I wasn't just asking for a handout. He sighed. "My pride got in the way of my integrity. I lost sight of the values you and Dad taught me." "Those values are still there, Michael. They're part of who you are, even if you strayed from them for a while." "I want to be someone Noah can look up to," he said quietly. "Someone who deserves your trust again someday." When Rebecca and Noah arrived later, Rebecca approached me with a gift bag. "It's not much," she said awkwardly. "Just something I made in a pottery class I've been taking." Inside was a handcrafted mug with "World's Best Grandma" painted in wobbly letters. It was worth more to me than any designer item she could have purchased. "Thank you, Rebecca. I love it." Her smile was genuine. Noah helped pick the colors. During dinner, the conversation flowed more naturally than it had in months. Patricia regaled us with stories from Arizona. Noah enthusiastically described his science project on renewable energy, And even Rebecca and I found common ground discussing a book we had both recently read. After the meal, Michael asked if we could speak privately. In Gerald's study, he handed me a folder. "What's this?" I asked. "A financial plan," he explained. "I've been working with a counselor to develop better money management skills. I wanted you to see that I'm serious about changing." The folder contained a detailed budget, debt reduction strategy, and savings plan for Noah's future expenses beyond what my education trust would cover. "I'm impressed, Michael. This shows real commitment. I've also been thinking about the future," he continued, "about inheritance and family wealth. I realize now that I was entitled and presumptuous. Whatever you decide to do with your estate is your decision, and I'll respect that." "Actually, I'd like your input," I said, surprising myself with the offer. "Not just about inheritance, but about family financial decisions in general. I've been considering establishing a family council where we can discuss these matters openly and honestly." Michael's eyes widened. "You'd still want my input after everything that happened?" "You're my son and Noah's father. You made a serious mistake, but you're taking responsibility and making amends. That's what matters going forward." 2 months later, we held our first family council meeting. Michael, Rebecca, Noah, and I gathered around my dining room table with a clear agenda, discussing financial goals, values, and responsibilities. "The purpose isn't just to talk about money," I explained to Noah, who was included in age-appropriate portions of the discussion. "It's about understanding that wealth comes with responsibility, that honesty is more valuable than any possession, and that family trust is something to be treasured and protected." Michael nodded in agreement. "Your grandmother is right, Noah. The most important lessons I've learned this year have nothing to do with bank accounts, and everything to do with integrity." The crowning moment of our reconciliation came at Noah's middle school graduation in June. As he accepted an award for excellence in science, Michael, Rebecca, and I stood together applauding his achievement. The education that had been at the center of our conflict was now a source of shared pride. After the ceremony, we gathered for photos, Noah beaming in his graduation robe between his parents, with me at his side. "I couldn't have done it without my grandma," he declared to the photographer. "She made sure I could stay at Westwood no matter what." Michael placed his hand on my shoulder. "He's right, Mom. Thank you for standing firm even when it was difficult. Especially then." As we walked to the car, Michael and Rebecca ahead with Noah, I reflected on the painful journey of the past year. The betrayal had been real and deep, but so was the healing that followed. By confronting the situation directly, I had not only protected Noah's education, but had ultimately strengthened our family bonds through honesty and clear boundaries. The money had never been the real issue. It was about respect, truth, and teaching the next generation the values that matter most. In standing up for those principles, I had found a strength I didn't know I possessed, even at 70 years old. Perhaps that was Gerald's final gift to me, the quiet courage to do what was right, even when it was heartbreaking. And in doing so, I had given Noah something more valuable than any education fund, the example of integrity in action. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have confronted your child about financial deception, or handled it differently? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more family stories and life lessons from someone who's seen it all. Share this video with someone who might need encouragement to stand up for themselves, no matter their age. Thank you for listening, and remember, it's never too late to establish healthy boundaries with the people you love most.